But now that we have the clip, Kevin, you can just drop it in now.
I'll do the bowls too, if you don't mind.
Today.
Make
Sure.
it a mood enhancer.
Hit it, Laura.
Yay.
Okay. In late September. It's probably exactly how you're feeling now in February. The weather here has been unreasonably warm. It's been good for us since our heating system is disabled, but we have a heat pump, but it's been good since last Friday. It's been between 50 and 60,
Okay.
which it should not be here until, gosh, into March. So we've had kind of a preview of, oh gosh. So, but the nice thing is, what I will say about climate is our climate has gotten noticeably warmer in the last 25, 30 years. Painfully, in my case, warmer. And we haven't had the transitions though. It's been okay, one day it's winter, the next day it's spring, and that's painful. But maybe this year we'll have a little bit of a transition. Maybe this odd warm phase will make it a little more tolerable when we wake up and it's 70 degrees out there and it's miserable for us. So I empathize with people at the end of the warmer weather. And I always hope for a little bit of empathy this time of year for us. Because if people feel the need to tease and pick, not you all, But there are people in my life and in general who are, oh, it's getting hot. I bet you love it. I bet you, because they know I don't. And that just seems mean. And I don't know why people have to go there. Because I don't do that in the winter. I just enjoy it. So that's just the odd, just empathy on both sides. I'm always wishing I was in the Southern Hemisphere this time of year.
What's it like in California? Bobby and Charlie and Nikki? What's it like there for you guys?
It's warm and sunny always.
It's
It's just consistently warm and sunny.
Do you
Yeah.
get like any kind of anticipatory feelings when it's like on the cusp of like a season change, or is it just like same year round kind of
It's the
vibes?
same
Like,
year round. Pretty much.
interesting.
Yeah, I've felt little shifts. We've had a little bit more cooler weather with the rains
It's
and
cold
such.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so 50, 60 is cold for us.
Right.
Typically
Very
in
cold.
San Diego, the average temperature through the year is 72.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And so
it's
it's a little
about the same
cooler.
thing here.
Yeah.
And if you don't hear from me, I'm in hibernation.
Okay. All wrapped up in a nice blanket.
This
kind of-
coast. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No.
Coastal New England, where I am, it's southern. We're along the Long Island Sound there, and it's we've had pretty mild winters the last few years, with I'd say very little snow. We've been hit a couple of times each year, but this year nothing. I think there are some flurries a couple of times, but the average temperature has been in the 40s, high 30s, low 40,
Well,
low to,
yeah, I think
Today's
global warming is a real thing.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like today it's going to get up to about 50. But to answer your question about what does this transition time feel like from winter, it's like a quickening. Like you said, I'm not quite there yet, but my creative juices are starting to flow again. And I found myself doing a lot of drawings for my candle designs and things like that. And I've got my ideas are starting to come to me in my dream time, and I'm writing them down, and and getting all that ready. It's like I'm getting ready to burst out. We're just past Imbolc, and so I'm beginning to see little things out in the yard that look like, well, pretty soon we're going to see the crocuses and some of that stuff. So it's that quickening time when Mother Earth is getting ready to pop forth, and bring forth new life for the coming year. So it's kind of an exciting time, really.
In some ways, if we're connected to it, and like this conversation already is making me like feel like, gosh, we're so far removed from the cycles as far as like whenever we need food, we just go to the grocery store year round. Whereas if we all had to do more on our land to get ready and, to get through winter and all of that, even in different climates, we would maybe be feeling that more. That I love the word quickening, as you put it. Yeah.
I'm
It's
reading
one thing I will go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm reading I just this morning finished reading a book called The Gathering. It's a fantasy novel. I like fantasy novels just to unwind before I go to sleep at night. Anything else is a little too heavy for me to relax with, but this one it's about a little village somewhere in England, out in the wilds there. And it's it's about a grove and the people in it, the Druids. And it's modern day. And this young lady inherits a cottage from her grandmother. And she's introduced to the folks in the village who are the Druids. And laced throughout the story this takes place around just before Samhain, which is at the end of the year. But a lot of what the leader of the grove talks about is the connection between us and nature. and how vital it is and how important to not only the people in the Grove, but everywhere in the world. And it really struck a nerve with me. It really sunk in. And I had, when I read the last few pages of the book, they were doing a Samhain ritual, and it just went right into me. And I thought, yeah, that's what we need. That's what we've lost, is that connection to nature and that realization and now knowledge within us that we are part of it, not apart from it. And it's it just added to my feeling of the quickening. So I
Yeah.
got there.
Love it.
So,
What were you
It's
going to add, Carrie?
Interesting. I do quite enjoy, it's bizarre. I like identifying the spring flowers and catching, oh, there's, because my favorite flower is Jack in the Pulpit. I will stop what I'm doing and sit down and I just adore Jack in the Pulpit, and you don't have that without springtime. So there is my intellectual curiosity and just the beauty of that I see, but it's a little disjointed. But in autumn, when I start to see the leaves turn and start to see asters and ironweed is my very favorite. Just this beautiful, gorgeous, dark purple. That means it's autumn is coming. That's when it matches for me is, oh, look, there's this beautiful flower, and it means the season's going to match with me. So I
Mm,
completely empathize with that. Makes perfect sense to me, because I love, especially, and we have a huge hillside covered with trilliums where on our running trail,
mm,
and people come from a long way to see this hillside covered with trilliums. But then for me, in the autumn, when you get pawpaws, the big it's a fruit that only is available in October and November. That's me with, oh, look, it's not only are these delicious, and they don't travel, so you can't get them anywhere else unless you live where they are. But oh, look, it's my time of year, and here's a pawpaw to say welcome, because they just are on the ground. You just see them, there they are, and grab them. So it's that connection is very important, and I'm happy that I can see it this time of in March and April, but I feel it more in October.
yeah. Nice. Nice. What about like the light in California? Do you notice that like our days are getting longer? And like, how is that impacting you, even if you're in a warmer climate?
Yeah, I noticed that. I don't really have, some people in California still have that, like someone had mentioned depressive tendencies, not depressive, like depressed, but kind of like the changes. And I do notice that in California, people really are like, oh, thank goodness the days are getting longer. They're getting longer. They're getting longer, because we're so used to being the one thing that California does. I know some other countries may or may not do it. I know some of the states don't do it, but where we have I think it's called daylight savings time, where it's March or April, and we get an extra hour of sunshine in the evening compared to in the morning. They kind of change the clocks. It's spring forward, fall back. So I noticed that. So for me, I live, I can walk to the beach in like 10 to 15 minutes. So I like that better, because then I'm able to walk in the beach later in the afternoon. And now that the days are getting longer, because we'll have it, get dark, completely dark around 4:30 in the afternoon. So it kind of cuts into what we're all used to doing in the afternoons or early evenings at the beach. So that does make a big impact on people here. How about you guys in other states? Do you notice it too, like we do?
Definitely. I mean,
mhm.
I'm not out and
Yep.
about as much yet because it's not quite as warm yet. So, but definitely noticing it.
Yeah, my body responds by rising and setting with the sun. So some days I'm in bed for 12 hours. I don't sleep all those hours, but I'm literally dysfunctional when the skies are so dark all the time. So I have to force myself to go walking at dusk sometimes just to stay out.
Yeah.
Love it.
That is one
Love
of the
it.
factors for us, strangely enough, is it's too much light.
Yeah.
It's too much. It just, and you can't escape it. I mean, we have very heavy curtains and we covered some of the windows completely just because of the heat loss. But that time of year, it's like, oh, it's still light out there. It's not just the heat. It's complete. And I don't know if this is our Northern European ancestry or what, but it's very interesting to observe the contrast.
Carrie, where do you, I know you live on the southern hemisphere, correct? Am I right? Or where do you
No,
live?
right now, I wish I did. I'm in Virginia in the States, almost.
Oh,
almost.
okay. Oh, yeah, and it does get hot and humid up there. Yeah, you're right. And this, yeah, I've been to Maryland and Virginia, but it was during the, springtime and winter, so it wasn't, yeah, I believe it. It does get bright up there.
We're
Thank you.
further. We're in the far western corner of Virginia.
Okay, yeah.
Used to stay much cooler. It rarely used to get above 80 degrees. In my, my teenage memory, this is not 100 years ago. And now we can get to 100 and our houses are
Oh,
designed
wow.
for it.
What's your
I
elevation
know.
there, Carrie?
Our house is about 2,000 feet. The
Okay.
town is at about 1,000.
Okay.
So we get weird things like they'll get a dusting of snow and we'll get 8 inches, which is fun. But it can be, and it's much, much warmer in town. It can be 10, 15 degrees warmer.
Yeah.
So we keep our house cool. So we'll go into town and we're just, oh my God. And everybody's, what? It's been like this for weeks.
Yeah. When we were in Sedona, our elevation was 3,500 feet, and Flagstaff, just 45 minutes away, was over 7,000 feet. So the snow and the cold and all of it was absolutely
Yeah,
different.
that
It was just amazing.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
You can't see her, but she can hear.
What's it like in Ottawa right now for you, Kevin?
Well, I'll tell you, it's amazing. It's almost like spring. And I know we're going to be kicked in the teeth because of it. We're going to have to pay. But it's interesting. I can listen to y'all because I can't imagine what you would do in our climate. Here it gets dark at 4:15 and it drops to 30 below when the sun goes away.
Oh my God.
And you have to be home. If not, you're gonna get real cold. And this is the minute the sun sets. It's not
Wow.
like it gives you time to go home. So I look at spring spiritually as almost like a little boy waking up from a sleep and stretching and getting ready for summer. And I'm in that stretching mode where, okay, winter's over. My self-imposed hibernation is coming to an end, and it's about time I start moving and getting my act together.
Like a
And
teddy
I
bear.
look at it as a time of, we just finished Imbolc, so it's a time of, the seeds of our winters are starting to sprout. And by the summertime, hopefully it's going to be a full blown flower at that point. And I hope to be in the middle of whatever I'm up to spiritually. But this is a time of awakening. I'm going blank on the term you use. Awakening, or maybe I said that before. But
The quickening that she used?
Yeah, the quickening. Okay, that was the word I missed. And it's all the same. And I look at it as an exciting time. Our days started getting longer. Every day from June 21st on, the day gets 3 minutes longer. And that I find exciting because I like to be alive and awake and look out. I don't go out in the summertime, but I look out the window and I like what I see.
That's the feeling that you said, like you're getting excited. That's kind of that feeling that I was tapping into when I was thinking about this topic. It's just like it's that anticipation, the excitement building, the almost ready for something to start, but not quite there. Yeah.
It's a promise.
Yeah.
It's a promise, the future, it's a promise of the future.
I love that.
I look forward to dressing for the weather because I literally will not wear anything but sandals for 6 months of the year. And then when I finally put my shoes on and wear a sweater, it's like I don't feel like I'll ever take it off. And then all of a sudden we're back into the warmth again. So it's an entire wardrobe shift just for 10 or 20 degrees.
Definitely. Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
have any of you seen the little movie Charlotte's Web?
Yeah.
Okay. Remember the song Mother Earth and Father Time?
No.
It's a delightful little piece. And the seasons, they turn around, and so Mother Earth, she changes her gown, but she always looks in her prime. And this time of year reminds me of that, is that she's about to change her gown for spring.
That's a lovely thought.
Yeah, and it's an eternal dance, or it's a dance of eternal romance with Mother Earth and Father Time. It's a beautiful little piece. You could look it up. It's delightful. It's delightful. And as
That's sweet.
as Nikki was saying, she changes her clothing depending on the time of year. It reminded me of that song.
Yeah.
And I'd sing it for you, but I don't want you to have to suffer through my singing. So, and I'm not sure I could remember all the words to it. But anyway, look it up sometime. Mother Earth and Father Time from Charlotte's Web.
Nice.
That's fun. You mentioned that. Jason and I both tend to set stories in autumn, and we'll always have a line of the trees putting on their party clothes, and Mother Nature getting into her finest for the orange and yellow and red and just gorgeous colors.
The
So
gold.
yeah, that's a cool way to
You
put it.
should look up that song, because
Oh yeah.
I know you'll relate to it very, very much. Very much.
Debbie
Well,
Reynolds.
here's another interesting commentary. In the 1940s, when I grew up in Boston, we were so impacted by the climate. But now in 2024, things are so different. Different in a way that, in Boston, the wintertime, you don't get fresh vegetables, you don't get fresh fruits. Now we get them fresh all year round.
They're flown in.
Yeah, because of the climate on the opposite side of the planet. And then human beings don't let the climate overly dictate to us, because now we've got hundreds of thousands and millions of people coming out all winter long in any condition to watch football. It's like, it's insane. So we human beings are influenced by the climate, no doubt about it, but we don't let it inhibit us to a point of not doing what we want to do.
You're right.
Absolutely. I do feel that like we're becoming so global, and so it that takes us apart from nature a little bit more. It makes me wonder, like, Charlie, you're talking about memories from like the 40s. Like, what is the young generation right now, like, how much of a connection to the seasons are they going to feel compared to previous generations because of just different things that happen? I mean, you have to have very extreme weather for it to impact the routine of a city these days, you know, whereas before, you know, half a century ago, you had differences in the whole city's, you know, rhythm, I want to call it, just from the season of that they're in, you know. It's amazing.
Yeah, the mere
What about
fact
you,
that
Paul?
in those days we were agricultural community, but now people eventually kept moving into cities. And we had mega cities, which changed the whole name of the game. And then we had electricity and heating and all these other things impacting us, making a big difference. And now there seems to be somewhat of an exit from huge cities and going out to more rural communities to live. And in our community right here, in our yard, the frogs have come out early. They hibernate, and now they're out of hibernation. This is the earliest I've ever heard the frogs.
Do they make a lot of noise when they're coming out of hibernation?
Oh yeah, they're croaking. Amazing how loud they are and how often.
And they're teeny.
They're
They're
teeny.
little bitty mud frogs, but they make a heck of a racket.
There's some kind of frog here that will come out if we have a nice warm day in the dead of winter. They will literally freeze. They have antifreeze in their blood, and they live right here in our yard. So you could get a warm day in November, December, January, and you'll hear the peepers beep, 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 and then the next day it's 30 and they freeze again. But
Wow.
one of my favorite, I will say a favorite thing of spring is the American toad. I don't know if you've ever heard the American toad song. It is beautiful. Just this just beautiful, lovely sound. And right now is when you'll start to see the females. These are big frogs. We have like 5 species of frogs in our yard, but these are big old frogs, and the females are this deep, gorgeous orange.
Are these frogs or toads?
Well, the American toad, amphibians. Oh, we have several. We have both in our
Oh, you
ecosystem
have both,
in our
okay.
yard. But the big giant orange American toad females start to show up now because they're getting ready to mate. They're going to mate even in the cold weather.
Yeah, when I was a kid in Missouri, we had those big bullfrogs. I mean,
We have
big
those. I
frogs.
love those. Yes.
And they're making a heck of a sound.
They're like the
Really
bass,
loud.
like the bass guitar of the frog band.
Exactly.
They're wonderful. And we have
Yeah.
tree
And their
frogs.
necks go way out and come way in.
We have tree frogs that live in our rain barrels here. And they're not very big, but they are meant to be heard a mile away.
Wow.
Rain barrels are under our bedroom. So in
You hear them.
a certain cool kind of misty spring or summer night, we call it the froggy tonk. And they
Yeah.
get going, and you can feel your eardrums move, and
Yeah.
they're all in the rain barrels, just, hey baby, hey baby.
Here
And
I
then
am.
it's fascinating to see. And then we get to watch the tadpoles in our rain barrel go through all their steps, and that is a interesting experience. But yeah, the bullfrogs are something else.
Yeah, bullfrogs are something else.
In Hawaii, we had the kokui frogs, and they were not native to Hawaii, but they are everywhere, and they're very loud, but they have this pitch that's almost like a chirp. It's like a doot 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 doot, and it goes on and on and on and in masses. And so it's like almost like the white noise of any other traffic or something in your city. You just get used to having that around. But I notice it when I'm on calls with people, either in Hawaii or jungle kinds of environments, and I hear that in the background. It's like, oh, that sounds like home.
You know, what's also interesting is that the animals, we're used to animals, migration, right? Or hibernation, whatever animals do, we follow them. Humankind's a lot different. Our motivation is somewhat climate, but look at the economic motivation. economic motivation. Go west, young man. Get 160 acres of free government property, that, or the gold mine rush, or the oil rush, or whatever it is.
How many people are coming for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, and so our migration is a lot different motivation. Now, Corinne has something she'd like to read to us if we're ready for that. She
Yeah.
looked up.
Sure.
Corinne, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but I apologize, Charlie. I don't have anything in front of me. Was I supposed to get something from you guys, or?
I just
don't-
let him read what you wrote on my what you text me about June
Oh,
being
Oh, about what again? I didn't know, Dolly. I don't know what you're talking
the
about.
longest day of the year is June. What you just text me?
No, I'm not reading that. No, that
Oh.
was something personal. No, I don't have anything to say. Sorry, you guys.
Oh.
Yeah, Dolly didn't read everything I wrote. I'm like, no, sorry, I'm okay. I'm just gonna listen, you guys. Thank you.
I'd love to take that moment to read the lyrics to that cute song that
Yeah,
Sally
please.
mentioned. Yeah, it's very sweet. So, how very special are we for just a moment to be part of life's eternal rhyme? How very special are we to have our family tree, Mother Earth and Father Time. He turns the seasons around, and so she changes her gown. But they always look in their prime. They go on dancing their dance of everlasting romance, Mother Earth and Father Time. The
that's
summer larks
lovely.
return to sing. Oh, what a gift they give. When autumn days grow short and cold, oh, what a joy to live. How very special are we for just a moment to be part of life's eternal rhyme. How very special are we to have on our family tree Mother Earth and Father Time. That's great.
Isn't that a beautiful little
It's lovely.
That is
Yeah,
lovely. Yes, I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
never heard
my
that. It's lovely.
favorite?
Yeah. So does anybody else have a feeling of that quickening, as Sally was saying, or like any projects or things that are like kind of bubbling up at this time of year naturally for them that this season is bringing about?
The only thing I wanted to say, which I think I brought up before, is as everyone knows, my father passed away in October. And there was a period where, of course, I was in denial and all of that. But starting, I think about a month after he died, I feel like every day is with me. But my dad was very organized. Everything had a place. Don't, just get rid of stuff, get rid of like stuff that you don't use. And I've just felt, and it's not because of the new year never affects me. I've never been one to say, oh, I got to get this done, get that done. I figure you do it when you need to do it. And I just feel like I've just been going through the house and getting rid of things and then organizing things more than I ever have in my entire life. So, and that's still going on right now. But normally I know a lot of people do spring cleaning and let's do this and let's do the planting and stuff like that. But personally, I've never done that. It's kind of, always treated the same. So, but regarding my dad passing on, I don't know if anybody, I know I'm switching subjects, but I don't know if any of the rest of you have had this happen where you almost get like help from the other side with stuff that they were really good at. I'm sure all of you've had that happen. I've always been organized in business, and my personal finances, but regarding organizing the house has been kind of the last few years, and maybe because he's been ill for 4 and 5 years. So I was just curious. And if you want to go back to the seasons, please do. I'm complete. Thank you.
I don't know that I experienced like I felt like the strength of like women before me in my family at times, but I don't know that I've ever felt like someone who came before me was helping me with like a particular like project or something like that. That's really amazing that you're feeling that, and I love hearing that. So
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I'm such a beginner in the mediumship side that I realize that I have to ask to have that kind of assistance. And I just totally
Oh.
forget. It's like I just
Yes.
am so unaccustomed to it that, you know, the
That's
assignment
why,
has been ask 100 things a day. And it's like, are you kidding me? I don't even
No.
talk to that much in a day. But
that's
it's
funny
Is it
because,
working?
yeah.
it can work. It does. I'm not consistent yet, but yes, it works.
Well, that's funny, Nikki, because I do have daily conversations with him.
Yeah.
And when he passed, I think I told you guys the story when I was 3, I went to Catholicism. I learned about the devil, and I sat down and pretended God was there and the devil was there. Okay, you guys got to figure out this is not right. You know, devil, you've got to apologize. God, you got to, you know. And so with my dad, I was like, you know, you have those moments where you're angry. And I was like, Dad, da 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 da, because there were things he did health wise that he would still be alive. And I know he had his own path. But so I was like, you know, this, not angry, but just like having a discussion with him because I just felt like I needed that for my own, you know, soul and sanity.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even now I'll tell him, you know, and my son's father, we've had a lot of deaths. My son's grandfather on the other side passed away, and then his dad passed away, and then my dad passed away, who was considered really his primary dad. And it's just been the last, you know, 3 years, death. And just like, even them, I was talking to them, like, you know, you better take care of my son. You better take care of my son. And so I have these conversations, and my mom appreciates them. Tell your dad I'm ready to go with him. I said, I tell him. But yeah, so the more you talk to them, the better they come, you know, and you'll
Yeah.
get little messages from them. Throughout the whole house, people will laugh, but I found so many dimes and quarters and penny, which they say are from
Yes.
heaven. It's like I would vacuum the house, clean the floors, and suddenly they'd be around. So it's
Yeah.
amazing how they can come through. Thanks for letting me share, you guys.
Yeah.
I
it's
love
awesome.
it. Yeah. I've been talking to my dog because she's gone. She passed in November. So I just, once in a while, just let myself out loud,
Yeah.
you know, send a little message to her about whatever's going on. Yeah.
It's amazing how much you miss them when they're gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And what amazes me is that we don't have to. If we just remind ourselves to check in, make the connection.
It's a good
So
point.
Yeah.
how many people have done spring cleaning in their life? And what motivates you to do spring cleaning?
When I was a kid, I remember my mother and grandmother used to do spring cleaning because it meant that the winter was finally over and no people weren't tracking snow in the house and all that kind of thing. So they would do so-called deep cleaning then. So because
Yeah,
they know
my-
it lasts. In the winter, you clean and the next day be filthy. So you give up
Right.
on it.
I remember hanging out windows, cleaning the outside of the window because I had the longest arms in the family, and that was my job with the vinegar and newspaper. Remember, it was the best way to clean your
That's what we
windows.
used for years.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
It still works, you know.
It does. It just
Yeah,
newspaper's a
works
little
well.
different nowadays. But yeah, that was my job. My mother and I would go through the house because I was the oldest. I got that job. And then I got the job of going to help my grandmother in her house. And my great aunt would call us over and she'd have a party where we would get all our favorite Polish food and music, but we had to clean the house. But it was
Yeah.
more fun because it wasn't our house. It wasn't my room that was getting shoveled out because I didn't like my room shoveled out. I still don't. So yeah, spring cleaning was a big thing in
Yeah.
my family. Do I do it now? Never.
My
I sorta,
grandmother.
go ahead.
You
I'm
weren't
good.
done. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
my grandmother had this canister when she would do her spring cleaning. She had this canister of this green, well, it was like a cross between silly putty and homemade clay. Excuse me. But it was this stuff that you used to clean the wallpaper with.
Oh, wow.
She would take a chunk of it out of the canister, roll it into a ball, and she would just literally draw it down the walls, because everybody had wallpaper back then. And she'd keep kneading it and changing it, kneading it and changing it, you know, and rolling it in a ball until it was all sort of a gray color, because it started out green. And if I had been very good and was helping her with things, she would give me some to play with, because it was like playing with silly putty, only it didn't get hard like silly putty does. And that was fun. But
Wow.
I can remember that from spring cleaning for her. That and the window thing that Paula was talking about. But yeah, spring cleaning was a big deal.
Isn't there a cleaning goop that is like almost silly putty, and you use it? You can clean your keyboards and whatever with it.
Yeah,
But
they might still be around.
For
what makes
cars.
me
Yeah.
think when you talked about the spring cleaning, we always did the spring cleaning, but where I grew up and when I grew up was long before modern window technology. So it was like living in a sieve. We would cover all the windows in heavy gauge plastic to protect from the winter. But in the spring, it was kind of liberating to take all this plastic down. And you could now look out the window and see life the way it should be, kind of thing. And you just made me think of that when you said the spring cleaning. Because my mother used to do spring cleaning, but then my father would do all the uncovering of the windows and things like that. And every home would do that as winterizing. So the whole town would be doing it at the same time. So it was almost liberating for every household.
Yeah.
Don't, sorry.
Go.
We normally don't spring clean, but we're being forced into it this year because of
Hmm.
the near fire.
Oh.
So going into well, just going through the cabinets, and yeah, our storage space is completely gone. I really don't need this thing. Oh, look at the extra. Oh no, I don't need this. I don't need this. These are just things. And it's been really interesting to both of us have the mindset of, yeah, this thing doesn't belong here. This thing could go to someone else, or sometimes it actually needs to be tossed, or it could be passed along in some way. But we're being shoved into spring cleaning big time this year. It's interesting.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was too, because my sister Karen said she had a friend who just bought a brand new house but had absolutely nothing to put in her house. So I went through my cupboards. I gave away dishes. I gave away appliances. I sent this woman 13 boxes plus a bunch of towels. And she's like, I can't believe your sister did that. And I said, but you don't know what it did for me. It was like cleaning out some of the clutter that I didn't need. Like Carrie says, what do I need 3 hand mixers for? Really? Come on. So it was like a blessing, and it also allowed me to bring other things into my house. And one of those things is I've started a painting class. That's my excitement for the spring. And it took me 4 weeks to learn how to blend, but I finally did it. And spring for me is my renewal. As soon I listen for the bird songs. The bird songs change. And this week they have been really strange. They've been half winter and half spring. But we had 50-degree weather. And yet Tuesday, we're going to get one hell of a snowstorm.
Wow.
But in this area, we've always gotten a snowstorm around Valentine's Day. And Wednesday is Valentine's Day. So, you know, it's been great. I've been out walking with my husband, which I never do. I've been swimming in the pool with Sally, which is wonderful because it's actually warm enough to swim in the pool. It's an indoor pool, obviously. But for me, listening to the birds, I always listened for the bird changes and knew that spring was coming. And then as the first snowdrops, because in February here, snowdrops will pop up and bloom actually, if there's not 14 feet of snow, which we haven't had in years. And then the crocuses will come up. And then the leaves start to pop out. And then I watch the leaves change colors between March and June. Which when I was younger, I never noticed any of that because I was always too busy playing or being stupid or whatever. But I really enjoy and again, I also love, as Carrie said, when the leaves change in the fall, I love all those colors. And it's beautiful. And we used to, when we were kids, we used to take those leaves and put them between two pieces of wax paper and iron them so that we could keep them because that would preserve the color. So yeah, I think I'm much more in tune with seasons and cycles than I ever was. And I think it's important, it's more important as we get older to stay in contact with that because we're going through seasons and cycles. I am in the autumn of my life. I hope it's not winter yet, but you never know. Tomorrow could change. And, you know, in the spring, I love the smell of the dirt. My husband made me these wonderful raised beds that are almost as tall as I am. I love getting my hands dirty. I love getting in that dirt, planting the seeds. Did they all come up? No. Do I remember to water them? No. But just getting in there, getting dirty is enough for me. And I have so many weeds in my yard. My agreement with them is as long as you produce a flower, you'll live. If there's no flowers, you're out of here. And the other amazing thing is our winter has been so warm. My pansies are still blooming in February in my front yard.
Wow.
Which blew me away. I looked over in the pot and I went, what is that? And it's like, that's a pansy blooming in February. That's never happened to me. So I think that, you know, with the global warming and things changing, like Matthew said, we should have stayed in Stonington. Then who knows, maybe in a few years we'd have oceanfront property because we were that close to the water. But, you know, we're higher up now. And we do get more snow than Sally does because she's down by the coast in Rhode Island. We're in a little bit higher elevation, so we're probably going to get a doozy just before Valentine's Day. But I don't have to work. I don't have to drive anywhere, so I can enjoy it. I can love it. And I know in probably another week it'll be gone because the temperatures will go back up again. It's been an amazing winter, actually. So that's my take on spring. And again, we have peep toads too. And you really know spring is here when you drive by the swamp and the peep toads are peeping the little hearts out.
Nice. I'm right on the river, so I don't really have like toads and frogs that I hear a bunch. Because but I wish I had that. I always love seeing them when I go to places. It feels like special and magical. So it's nice.
You'll have that in your new community.
Maybe. Yeah, I was out there the other day, a couple weeks ago, and I saw there were multiple salamanders. They're so cute. So we're gonna do something with like a little salamander walk and like beware the salamanders, you know, careful of them, little signs.
Salamanders crossing.
Yeah,
Salamanders crossing, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We have volunteers that go out and protect a road in the backwoods in Stonington. At a certain time of year, the volunteers will actually stand out there and stop traffic to let the salamanders go from the swamp to the field.
Wow,
And it's
that's
just,
beautiful.
So
it
cool.
is really, really neat, you know, to see these human beings out there with their flashlights after dark, flagging people saying, no, 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 there's a bunch of salamanders going across the road. In my neighborhood, it's turkeys going across the road, but out there, it's salamanders. But they're very dedicated to their salamanders, which is wonderful.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's cool.
excited.
Yeah, one
We
of
have
the
a couple of that I believe are courting in our yard at this time of year, every spring or every about this time of year each year. They come back, and I heard them the other night.
What are they?
Owls.
Owls.
Yeah. You know, they're solitary creatures, but they do mate.
Yeah.
And every fall I hear the one, and then in this every spring about this time a year I hear them courting, and they're out there somewhere on the property. So
We
Wow.
have barred owls all over here, and they if they get congregated,
uh-huh.
then they get to talking, and it sounds like monkeys. You
Yeah.
get a bunch of it's the most bizarre sound. And then
Mm.
another is the screech owl, which is horribly named in my opinion, because it's got the prettiest trilling sound. And that's another autumn thing around here. So I
Mhm.
happen to live where I hear things and see things that let me know, oh, it's turning toward the good. But this year we've got a wild honeybee, well, not wild, but undomesticated honeybee nest that's under one of our sheds. We had no idea it was there until late in the year because it was tucked up under the eaves. It's probably the bees we had years ago that absconded. We never did figure out why, but I was so worried because we can't get to them, and we've called other beekeepers and they can't get to them. They're just in an odd place, and we were concerned that they weren't going to make, because we had a couple of pretty good cold snaps this year, and saw them the other day. They're fine. I mean, it's an
Nice.
open hive, just the hanging. You can see where they
Mhm.
put on the pollen and put on, but they come and drink at our rain barrels, and oh, they made it. They made it. So that's, I guess we now have a honeybee hive that's going to stay there because no one can get them. It's fine with us because I love them. I loved having the hives and getting in there and all that, but they weren't happy where we had them. But anyone with a garden for several miles of us should be very thankful for these wild honeybees.
Yeah.
They're busy.
That's cool. I love that.
It's exciting to see them.
Bees are
Talking
enormously
about birds,
important
yeah.
for our well-being.
Oh, yes.
The crows chase all our owls away, so it's
Oh.
rare when we see any owl because the crows are so territorial. But there's another bird we haven't talked about, and that's the migrating snowbirds.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, the snowbirds.
Is that a shift that's happening in your area?
Yeah.
It's people traveling to warm areas for their
Yeah,
winters.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the time where they start to kind of shift back.
Yeah.
Mm.
Gotcha.
When we lived in Atlanta, it was Interstate 75. Certain times a year you go to work, and every car was Canadian. Every car. You'd see like 50 Canadian cars and 2 Georgia cars
Yeah.
from people going to and from Florida. It was fascinating.
I grew up in
Yeah.
Ohio, and our destination was Florida every single year.
Mhm.
Wow.
We're in Ohio.
Lexington,
A
Hmm.
lot of our desert,
right in the center.
Oh,
and
okay.
our desert out here in Southern California, where during World War II, they built a lot of temporary barracks. Well, the barracks, of course, have all eroded. The only thing left there is foundations, cement. But the snowbirds, they go there and make quite a camping city. You'll have 100,000 people show up in the desert, and they create their own laws, their own, sanitation. However they do that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Lots of them.
There's a lot more regenerative land use coming up. And so people are doing regenerative agriculture. They're repopulating you know, the deforestation and bringing back streams and waters and all that stuff. So we're working with some people to do alternative community building and have them take alternate income as well. So instead of being based on the dollar or gold-backed fiat,
Yeah.
we wanted to trade in other things, getting back
Nice.
to the nature cycles. Yeah.
Beautiful. Love it.
Mm.
Well, we are getting close to the end.
Yeah.
Are we having someone do speaking next week?
We could do
Or a
gratitude if
presentation?
Carrie wants to bring something to the table. A little
Nice.
writing exercise for gratitude, maybe.
I like it.
Just send me a title so I can put it in the newsletter.
Okay. And I'll put a heads up about the eclipse for those of
Okay.
us in the path
Yeah,
that might be
great.
something to consider at that time. Just because
Okay.
Good.
few people have been making plans. We're going to Indianapolis, and fingers crossed for sunny skies. You just heard me say that. Did you hear that? I want bright sunshine
You want the sunshine.
on that one day.
Yep.
That's something just to contemplate coming up, because we were lucky enough to see the totality of the last one in South Carolina,
Uh-huh.
and it changes your perspective. There's nothing like it. Nothing. Just kind of throwing that out early. Something to think about.
Yeah.
When is
And
that?
before
April 8th, maybe?
Okay, thank you.
Soon. April 8th, yes, a total eclipse. It's going,
Total.
yeah, it's going to be exciting. Definitely
Yeah.
east.
And where can we see it from?
Some
You might-
astronomers are going to say that this coming eclipse has the potential to give everyone in the world a different perspective for the better.
wow.
And that's
That would be a
coming
blessing.
from Vedic as well as Western astrologers, and is being backed up by other planetary, because the planets are where the American Revolution took place. We had the same planetary setup
Oh
as
wow.
was happening.
Planetary alignments?
Yeah, and like apparently with this eclipse coming up, it's going to change everyone's perspective.
Good.
Wow.
You may
So
be
that's a
right.
good sign. We just have to make it through this year.
And you said it was the American Revolution, so like what, you like the Civil War or like what?
Well, yes, when you had the American Revolution back in 1775, the planets
Oh, from the
are
British.
lined up.
Okay,
Yeah, and then
That was
also
the
when you
Revolution.
had the Civil War,
got it.
and
Okay.
it's got to do with Pluto or something.
Hmm.
I only know enough about it to make me dangerous.
Nice of you
funny.
to admit that, Kevin.
Before we all go, I wanted to just have us all collectively send some love and prayers and healing to Laura
Yes.
as we're gathering here, because I know she's definitely having her challenges with recovery there. And so hopefully we can all bring some of this pre-spring energy boost we're getting and send a little bit her way right now. So hopefully she's
Absolutely.
on the mend. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
week.
Thank you all.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take
Take care.
care.